a pandemic of this nature was going to just completely restructure the economy and where the focus would be. So I knew if we did not do this now, we would lose those government funds. So I think that was really a driving factor for me in going, let's rather be the first. And if we fail and we'll deal with that. But at least we tried. We built the set, we'd done the costumes, let's just go.
Sure, the biggest compromise was around extras. The amount of people I could put in front of the camera, which was a huge challenge for a show that's about nations. You need as many bodies as possible.
With Blood Psalms, when we finally got it together and people were starting to come on board, when the whole global pandemic hit us, I was like, really? Like, really right now? And I tried to, I guess, it helped that this was something that the whole world was experiencing. It helped that it was a collective uncertainty, a collective fear. Like, it wasn't just mine to carry, you know?
Which was a challenge in itself, because we had to sit for 3 months without work or working. So I was worried because we had built that citadel in Bez Valley. There was rain, there was storms, there was theft, there was all sorts of things happening. So to maintain what we had already built, because we built it and then we had to leave it, you know.
But when we got the green light to come back to work, we didn't have a lot of time before principal photography started. And I think that was a source of great anxiety for a whole lot of people. We had to then make the set COVID compliant, and because we were one of the first productions to go back, we had to, I guess, trial and error it, and we were working with a medic team that was also trying to pioneer a safe way of creating content. We had to employ a whole team. They even designed an app during this period of how to track people and their movements. What we did was we looked at scheduling. We really worked all together as departments and said, okay, can we shoot, costume, are you ready with that scene? Art, can you be ready with that scene? And piece by piece going, this is what we can do, and take it day by day. I'm a firm believer that obstacles are the greatest source of creative intelligence. I feel like you always come up with the best ideas when there are hectic obstacles and challenges in your way. Chantal being one of them. And I think I had always been calling her. I'd been calling her on, I think, maybe 3 projects prior to work with us, because I had heard that she, besides being very good, was also of the same mindset as us in terms of her love of the craft.
Incredible humans on my team. So we've got obviously the construction team who built the citadel, and at one point we had many people. It was lovely to be able to give back to the community because they helped build this as well, which was amazing. And then under the construction team was a scenic team, and they are the people that give the texture, you know, all the sandstone, the water runs, the deterioration, painting the sculptures, you know, they give it life. And then we had a fabrication team. They created the sculptures, and I was very fortunate in lockdown for the fabrication team actually chose to stay here and keep working. And all the sculptures on Blood Psalms were created by them in lockdown. And then a props department, obviously everything that is scripted, and also their detail is incredible.
It's one thing to write a prop in a script, but it's a whole nother ballgame to actually create it and make it practical and make sure that it works and that it achieves the desired result. I think one of my absolute favorites is the Chawi staffs, which are on the wall there. We can have a look at.
There are a bunch of creation myths in ancient Egypt, one of which is the Ogdoad, which is about the 8 gods and goddesses who all represented different aspects of life. We took the 4 goddesses from the Ogdoad and we used them to represent different elements. And so each staff has a stone to correspond with the element that it represents. So you can actually see on these drawings, it says which one is which.
Okay.
And then let me just, each we had a little disc CNC'd, and each of them is a symbol of the different goddess based on the hieroglyph or based on an element that it represents or something. These bangles on the staff represents the jed, which is the spine of Osiris, which is a symbol of strength and also powers and stuff like that. You know, these elements have been designed to reflect the different elements. So on this represents the lotus flower, which grows in water. Every single staff has these, like a bunch of design elements that are supposed to directly represent the goddess whose powers you are channeling almost. So this is Nonet. She was the Ogdoad goddess who represents water. Then we have Horhet, who is fire. And then this is the hieroglyph for fire. If you can see the original, what that hieroglyph represents. And the snake is also to symbolize, in the Chawi tribe, the serpentine elementals and the emissary. There's a lot of snake symbolism in those. So we wanted to bring that through on the staffs as well.
Pierre, like I said, has worked with us on every single film we've ever done. So that was a relationship that we're kind of very loyal to. And he understands Jamil and he understands the vision, so that was great.
It is not the kind of project that you can buy anything. It doesn't exist. It is something that we created from scratch. We had small pockets of people. We had a group of leather workers, we had a group of etching technicians, we had a group of machinists, we had all kinds of little bits and pieces of skilled people that we brought.
The fabrication team produced stuff for costume, all the bones that come out here.
Our makeup department was entirely new on this production, but they were kind of put under the banner of the production designer. So we trusted her and thus trusted them.
We merged makeup and prosthetics, which is not something that's common on jobs, and we were very lucky to find some very skilled team. Nicola, who designed the makeup, I mean, her research was extensive, which was wonderful, and her team were able to execute that throughout.
I've been handed over this amazing big booklet of ideas and designs, which they've all been working on for so long. So when I took over, it was actually quite easy to just work through that and try and make it practical. So we've had a shortage of product, so we've had to be very creative in what we can use and how we can stretch and what we can use as alternatives. We were waiting on burned skins that were ordered from Cape Town for Zazie, and then that arrived late, so we had to just think old school, and we used latex and wet wipes, and it actually looks amazing.
So Willie now, I think, is one of the best cinematographers in the country. I think that he's been awarded as such. There is nothing that comes out of Willie that doesn't look good. We like to say, if you wanted to look like Disney, go with Willie. He is the perfect DOP for Blood Psalms.
We are doing some tests with lighting and all the practical sources we have. Just seeing how it responds and how to pitch the camera in general, how we're going to do it going forward. And it also gives our department some time to fine-tune their techniques of using these lanterns.
You know, there are a lot of positives to planning processes and planning ahead. And that's the kind of stuff you do in the background, making sure you know, all the elements are there when they need to be there, but to not over-construct it until it's in front of you. To work with the elements as if they're live. It's more like a live performance and less like a painting.
Tell me when you're ready.
So, hit. That man, watch her so that she doesn't strike you. Stand back, go. Okay, go. This is it now. Yeah. That's the fun. Yeah. Look at that. Cinematic.
Cool. Gotcha. Okay, cut.
Even when the channel fucks it up in their version.
Yeah.
So we know, already we can see. We know that 90 is way more friendlier if you're going to move around.
Correct. Okay. That definitely feels.
Great for battle, eh?
Jamil and Layla work. The amount of freedom they give me is something that's a rarity. You know, they don't over curate or over control the process. They let it be. And that's why they get the results they get.
You know, in a show like this, in a production like this, there's no time really to rehearse and really get into the ethos. So you don't have a lot to give your actors in terms of tools to work with.
The actors were largely, I think, completely in the dark also. They just like took a leap of faith because we didn't have time to brief them all individually. And I mean, we had a cast of like what ultimately became over 40 people in varying degrees of roles. So we decided, okay, we can spare 2 days of briefing. We'll split them in half, do half of the cast on a Monday, half of the cast on a Tuesday, whoever could make it to those sessions. And we tried our best to give them an overview of what the vision was, and also an overview in a sense of collaboration, a sense of the fact that, yes, we know you guys are together are a powerhouse. Like, we can't afford you even all together, but we're trying to build something here that can stand the test of time, that benefits us all in the future. And how can we all get on the same page and all get, because none of us have ever gotten this opportunity before. None of us have ever been able to practice our craft to this level in an authentic way. So we prepped them as much as we could in terms of getting things out of Jamil's head and into their minds and their psyches, and explained the characters and explained why they were chosen for those specific roles.
In a process like this, especially when we don't have time, there's no time for rehearsals, there's no time to engage each other. My whole thing is also to understand, is to demystify the experience for you guys. It's not going to be easy, you know? And you know how we live, especially in a city like Johannesburg. We've got 12,000 things that we do. You know, you're going to put in your 12 hours and then you're going to go to do something else, and then maybe you've got another job somewhere else. It's a radio gig, it's a TV gig, it's a lot of stuff. But for the next 15 weeks, I'm not going to lie, when you look at your calendar and that 12 hours that belongs to this, it's going to be hard. It's going to be fucking hard. I've done some pretty hectic shit, but this sits right up at the top of the pile for me as well, personally. So I know the extent of what it is going to be for the rest of us. And especially the conditions. Look at most of those scripts, what do they say? Night, 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 exterior, water, nakedness, lots of shit that we have to get past on a physical level. The boys are going on a boot camp over the weekend, specifically the guys who are doing the military stuff, for a reason. And the reason is quite simple. It's not trying to be gung-ho or what have you, but it's just to get a specific temperature around what this will feel like. Do you get what I'm saying?
After this whole process, assess everything, assess what we're trying to do, see how you feel safety-wise, see how the negotiations make you feel. Talk to me at any time, but it is entirely your decision if you want to do this or not. Put yourself through this at this time with COVID and everything else. I really want that to be your decision, and I don't want you to feel that would be any slight on us. Okay? But thank you for being here. And once again, apologies for the chaos in the way this is happening. We really had to rewrite and reschedule based on COVID. And it's still something we're tackling. And then also the other aspect which we really fought for, or at least Jamil really fought for, was this boot camp, which in retrospect was such a key aspect of how the male characters, in terms of their militant positions, came together and really understood and had a bond, because there was no time to cultivate that bond on the shoot day. There was no way.
It really started for me at the boot camp to try and start getting an ethos across. The guys didn't, I think, at the beginning know what I was going on about, but eventually, even with the games that we were playing and the competition, by the time we walked out of there was definitely a sense of tribalism, you know, and that was important for me.
Your role, yeah.
Right
What's
now.
missing from your role?
Yeah, so what's missing from
Yeah, so in my and I know what's in my role. My role is the match.
See, even if you've got a new role,
Yeah.
right?
So I'm the
one guy.
I'm saying, so the first, so who's taking the first day? No, let's get there first.
No, I was going to say before that.
But now you could see it was one consciousness. They had been through something together in this boot camp that they could not describe or explain to anybody else, but it forged them together. Even if they weren't in the same scene, they carried the same consciousness. And I think that took a lot of the pain of dealing with small bit parts and extras out of the process, because They were all right there. They were so focused.
So things like that, an exercise like the boot camp, I would have loved to do more stuff, but it was enough for what we required for at least this first season. But it gave a sense of identity to each grouping, and I think that was quite important, because really that's the fight. It's a fight for heritage, the right heritage.